Hello everybody, good morning. Sun is not up over those treetops yet. We're doing some topwater fishing, but stay tuned. I'm going to put together a better intro once you guys can actually see me. I don't know how well you can see me. We're going over to the shallows and we're throwing topwater poppers right off the bat. All different sizes. That's kind of the theme of today's videos. If I'll have enough footage, I'll put together 3 separate videos. If not, it'll all be on one. But we're starting with poppers, we're going to go to cranks, and then we're going to like soft plastics, you know, more real finessey stuff. We're basically going from regular or finessed gear to kind of light BFS or power BFS all the way down to ultralight BFS or almost like a trout type panfish baits. And we're going to cover, you know, those kind of 3 areas in today's video or videos. So buckle up, hang on, let's get some topwater on. Okay, we're over in the shallows. I'll catch a fish, I'll give you the heads up on what's going on, but we're starting with the biggest popper, the Pop Max. This is a bait that a few years back, the first trip out in this boat, I came, it was actually here, and I used this bait non-stop all day, caught over 100 bass. Best like fishing day I've had, period, for numbers. I didn't catch any like 5-pounders, I don't think, but I caught some big and just a bunch of fish. This is an awesome bait. It's just I used and abused it over the years and almost everywhere I fish, and so honestly I think the fish are kind of actually used to it. But it's a bigger bait. It's not BFS. It's, you know, your regular standard popper. Some people call it a big popper. I call it a big popper. Some people still call this like the small popper for bass, but or finesse size popper. But it's the 802. There we go. Just setting. It wasn't even moving. Just see how still this water is. Sometimes just that throwing out there and setting. But anyway, a little bitty guy. You see, it'll catch little ones, big ones, whatever. But that's what we're doing today. We're comparing all of these poppers just to see, you know, what combos you can throw them on, what they'll catch, that kind of stuff. You can see I consider this big, but it'll catch little fish and it'll catch big ones too. I've caught 5-pounders on this thing before. So we know it's working, and it works good, usually on regular gear all the way up to, I mean, I think it's perfect for like this, you know, 802, 803, you know, medium, maybe a medium heavy possibly, but you don't need it like a standard rod. So we're going to switch. One fish, new rod. So then we're going to jump down to this bait, which can be thrown on, you know, finesse BFS tackle. It's I call it 1/4 ounce. I can't remember. I think the Pop Max is like a 1/2 ounce. It's a 1/4 ounce. Pop Max may be heavier than a half, but it's a big bait. This is you're getting smaller now. You can still throw this on regular gear, but it's awesome on like this light, not an ultralight, but like light BFS gear or real, you know, finesse bait casting gear. The MGL spools, SV, you know, your light, your medium rods. Like a medium rod, any kind of rod you'd use for treble baits, you know, something. It's got a little give so you don't pull the fish, you know, pull it completely out of their mouth when you try to set the hook. It is smaller trebles. But today's video, we're just kind of trying out different things. I'm not really going into detail. I may explain a little bit on about like what. Ooh, that was a long cast. Look at that. That got way out there. Still got tons of line. Everybody talks about these BFS spools and oh, they won't hold enough line for me. If you use braid, like that is a long cast, plenty of line left, and I mean, how much line do you need for bass fishing? So anyway, back to the original, what we're talking about here. This popper could be thrown on pretty much any of that, you know, mid-range. You know, you don't want to try to throw it on a medium heavy or heavy. I don't recommend it. I'm not saying you can't do it. And this popper is good for whether you pop, walk the dog, or whatever. And it's caught me A lot of fish. Last year it was my #1 topwater bait. And that's a Pop X. But any of those sizes is a good, it's like that first, what I call finessey, small downside bait. Is it the Pop R or the mini Pop R, baby Pop R, or something as close to that size. So we're not into BFS poppers yet. We're still on, you know, ones you can throw with BFS gear but can be thrown in regular gear. Alright, one down, one to go. I know I repeat myself a lot, but sometimes that's for a reason. You know, it's like the stuff I tell myself over and over, you know, just to remind myself on why to throw it, how to throw it, that kind of stuff. You know, I think it needs repeated sometimes. You'll hear me saying the same thing about, you know, why I like something or how to work a bait over and over again. So far, they don't want anything moving. And I've seen times they want a big bait. Other times they want a little, you know, real finesse bait. Subtle movements, real fast movements. You just gotta keep changing up. As of right now, I guess I threw it right on that one's head, because I've thrown this one and let it set, and it's not gotten hit. I've, you know, tried different speeds of moving it. One thing I really haven't tried, there's millions of ways to cast and reel these back, but to work them, but just letting it set, little pops on the way back, or walking the dogs, about the main ways. You can also do like a little pull, kind of just pull it, let it set. That's probably the most subtle way you can work it. Just give it a little tug, let it set. Give it a fast tug, let it set. Kind of change them up. I like either walking the dog or throwing it out, letting it set. I let it get cleared out, so in case it spooked anything out, they stop, look, okay, it's a dying fish. You don't like to pop it. Because those little pops is about the best way to draw as much attention as you can without moving that far. You know, with walking the dog, once you start walking, you're kind of on a pace and you're coming out of the strike zone. I mean, you can go real slow, but you're still coming this way, almost steady. Not necessarily the slowest way to fish it. They don't want this white one. I might have to switch. Oh, there was a backlash. A backlash on the Aldebaran. That is not that common. What happened there? The forces of nature. I'm having some issues today. I had an issue with that one getting tangled up. This one wanted the backlash. I'm not sure why, but I got it out. I don't know, I need my glasses sometimes. Well, as you can see there, that's why I like braid. I got that backlash right out. I don't know why it did that. Only thing I figured, the wind caught it just, you know, the bait turned and momentum killed off. And well, I'll tell you what, I'm not gonna keep throwing that. I've covered a lot of water and didn't even get a hit. So we're gonna jump down to the next one. Now this is a new rod. All right, well, heck with that white Pop X. We're jumping right to this little dude. That's a Sonora 1/8 ounce. And we're trying my new rod out. This is the new Dragon. You look at that, some guys have asked me about it. It's softer. It's a 6'8", but it's softer than the 661 tetton by far, but it should be perfect for these little treble type things. Ooh. Right off the bat, first cast, you start to see that? Just the color sometimes, that's kind of what we're covering also. But you see it perfect for these little fish, felt good. He's going back in. He just had that look in his eye like, I want to hook you since you hooked me, and no thanks. When they're hooked in that bottom lip, especially little ones, I've talked about it before, you're better off to not take any chances. But as you can see there, just changing the bait made a difference. And this little 1/8 ounce, the dragon throws it just fine. This is a light. I wouldn't suggest 16th ounce baits. I'm not saying it won't throw them, I may try it, but your ultralight rods are where you want that. But if you're wanting like a 16th ounce jig with the trailer, you know, some kind of plastic, it's gonna make it heavier, about 1/8 probably, then yeah, this might do it. But this rod's pretty light as far as what's gonna be able to set the hook. I'd say it'd be perfect for, you know, TRD, Ned rig size bait, hooks basically. But if you're trying to throw a bigger hook size, I'm not sure. Well, I'll try it out. Sometimes you just never know until you try them. It may load up quick enough and get a good hook penetration. It's definitely right in your 1/8 ounce the little cranks, not the littlest, but 1/8, 1/4. Let's just see how it has no problem setting the hook, as you can see. Now, the ultralight would be a better fight for these little guys. That's a little baby bass, but that's why I guess they're not hitting that bigger. This guy. I like to throw them back in the microwave because they're just not quite done. That's why I call throwing them back in the water. Then they just kind of give up, and they just put up way less of a fight. The little ones, I wouldn't do that with the big bass, you might lose it. But as you can see, that bait, bam, killer right off the bat, and that is a good color. Maybe if I had, I don't have a Pop X or Max in that bright a color. Whoa, we're just gonna switch baits anyway. So we've covered the dragon. Now for the smallest bait. Now I don't honestly throw these. I just bought them. You see how little a bass I just caught on the 1/8 ounce, but that is like a 16th. That is smaller. That is a little bitty bait, one single treble on the back, and so I've got it on. This is the rod, the lure killer that I made. I haven't really showed it yet, but you see how much softer this rod is. This rod's like way softer, way more capable. We've got the PW100 with the purple spool. See how easily it casts those. But it's perfect time to use this little bitty bait. I think there's some little bass right in here. But it casts that little bitty, I think that's a 16th ounce, 2 grams, just over, maybe 2.5, but little bitty bait. That's not one I really recommend. I like the, if you guys have followed along when I first bought these, I love the 1/8 ounce. That size is a little bit smaller than the baby Pop X. It's just the perfect size. Catches the real little ones. I caught a 5-pounder on it. I mean, the only place like these guys where me and Charles went, the little creeks, you guys, that I guess possibly for trout and little smallmouth and bass in those little creeks, but it's a perfect setup for it. A lure killer with the PW100 or, you know, any comparable BFS reel. Basically any ultralight bait casting rod with a very light spool to throw that light of bait. Let's see what it catches a fish like. I just wanted to pull it. I think I threw it right on top of grass, so I kind of pulled it off before. It's definitely subtle enough. It looks like they want a bright color this morning. More of a chromish, whitish color, and it's not getting any hits. Oh, you just hear that? Maybe if I make it noise. It's pretty little. Sometimes if you make them, big disturbance. Looks like a bunch of shad, little bait fish jumped right there, and then this one's all by itself. If there's anything around, that's a lot of times where you'll get a big one too. I just knew this little hole had another little bitty bass in it. I just knew it. And I will be talking today about balance. Like kind of one of the reasons why I built this rod. I wanted something with a firmer grip and just more balance. It does fish like a heavier rod. It's almost overkill, but it looks good. It's still not a heavy rod overall because the lure killer wasn't a heavy rod. The handle's heavier than the rod. I don't know. I bet you I could throw that green one again and have another fish. But we're going to keep going. I'm going to catch a fish on this bait. I'm going to catch a fish on this little bait. That's all there is to it. We're going to go down. We haven't really thrown yet. Right by that wood. Now there should be a bass in there. And that's another thing I noticed in testing. These are harder to throw, and I honestly just didn't get bit as much as with that little bit bigger bait with it's got a feathered hook on the end. And I think sometimes, especially with poppers, that little feathered treble on the end of them is what can trigger some strikes. I know there's a little bass right in here. Now watch, if I throw this thing, I might check. I've got like 2 of these little ones. I think they're both not that bright though. This guy ain't doing nothing. Let me look real quick, don't go anywhere. I lied. I do have a little bitty bright. I got 3 of these. So you see that little guy, those are about the same color, but I do have one that's just a little bit brighter. So I'm gonna switch to that real quick and hope that that color, I hear him jumping behind me somewhere. Now with these, normally I take my little split rings off the front of baits, but that is so far up in there, I leave the split ring on those. Now I probably could have a smaller little snap right there, but oh well. Let's try this again. A little brighter. That was a good cast though too. I see it going right over the tops of grass. That could be a big bass. I'd love to catch a 5-pounder on this little lightweight setup. I broke one of the tips last week trying to boat flip a pounder in. I won't make that mistake again. Anything that's less or more than a 1/4 pounder with cheese, I'm reaching down and grabbing. If it's a little bitty like with those last 2 we caught, I'll go ahead and maybe pull it up. That's another thing, if you grab your rod like this and you lift up like this, if you do this, what they call high sticking, not good. And I should have known better. I was just, being dumb. Man, do you guys see that? Like nothing. All right, before we go any further, I may have to put this on all these other rods just to, you guys also be able to see if it'll throw them or not, or how well it throws them. I know it'll throw it, but you see, I just kind of almost hammered that area with that other bait. Let's just give this guy a second. Just in a few spots. I don't want to take too long. Did you see? Oh, he totally got. Oh my God! Did you see that though? He hit it. I couldn't even get a hit. Okay, let's back it up. Maybe that one just got him fired up. There's a fish right there. Let's that. See that? Come on. You dirty dog. Fine. I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna throw this guy right back there. Let's see if the big bait will get him. You see that? Backed it up with the big bait. Sometimes I just want something. Oh, he just wanted to kill that. But I don't know. I'll let you guys call what that was, because I threw the littlest bait, nothing. The brightest bait, got him to whack at it. Actually caught him on that guy he hit at too. So I don't know. Sometimes you never know what they want or what they'll hit, either where they're trying to kill it, kind of like the whopper plopper. I think sometimes they're just trying to kill that thing, shut it up. But if you notice, those hits have come when it's not moving. On all those hits so far have been, I've moved it and I stopped it, or right when it landed. I haven't had anything take on the move, so that tells me I need to probably slow down for one. Two, I probably need to just concentrate on this bait, honestly, if I just want to put numbers in the boat, because that brighter bait seems to work. But okay, now what I'm trying to do, since I think this is the one that'll get the most bites, but I'm hoping it'll put me on some kind of fish. So I'm going to probably use it, but then when I catch one, I'm going to go to that littlest one, because I want to catch a fish on it. It's basically the only thing I haven't caught a fish on yet, as far as what I wanted to. But if you haven't checked it out yet, look at the video. Before I changed the handle, I was comparing the Lure Killer to the 522 SUL Teton rod, and we were throwing poppers and stuff. But check out that video. I definitely caught some on that rod. We were using these bigger poppers like I got on right now. So I know what it feels like. I don't necessarily know what it feels like on that different handle. I would have thought we would have had more luck. I guess we will go back to the small one. Sun's coming up. My topwater bite about over with. I can go up and hit the shady spot, you know, on that side. Oh, there's one's for. Oh, did you see that? They know it's there. They're not wanting to eat that thing. I think it's because it doesn't have a tail feather. That's what makes them not want that one. You have to have them. They have to be more aggressive in a mood to want that bug, whatever they think it is. So yeah, I think that's what's going on there. So let's just try our new rod and try to at least catch one more fish before we put into this topwater video, and then we'll go with the, whoa, release point was a little off. I know there's something coming out right there. Let's throw it right by this. Whoa, my release point is off on this one for some reason. Right there. Watch it, boys and girls. Here we go. Come on. Alright, let's pick up the pace. Sun's coming up. I gotta get up here somewhere and take it. Let's get a long cast in case they're spooked by the boat. Guess I'm gonna set right here and I'm just gonna shoot. You can get these to walk the dog, but it's a little harder and you almost have to be moving faster. They definitely don't walk the dog as good as like of course the baby Pop X doesn't either. The Pop X and the Pop Max are your best walking poppers for me anyway. But these will walk. You see it's jumping around out there. I was going to give you an idea. You see how far I was casting, no problem with that. I'll show you how far this little bitty lure killer ultralight rod will cast the little 16th ounce poppers. Plenty far enough for fishing. I don't know how far that is. That's what I call a, I don't know, 50 feet maybe? 40 feet, 45, 50, I don't know. Plenty far enough to fish it and use it. The main thing is it actually still lets you accurately cast it. I'm not just winging it and hoping, you know, not knowing if 10 or 15 foot away I can pretty much get a good accurate cast. I'm going to try to throw it right here, right at the edge, like see right where that tree starts going out in the water. I didn't quite get the distance I'd like to have been, almost a foot further up, but yeah, right in that area. Did you just see that? Did you guys just see that? Let's get over there. There is dead zone right through there today. Dead zone through here today. So even though it's a little bait, you can actually cover a lot of water with it. I'm going to come up in this little pocket. I'm going to throw this little bait. I want to catch a fish on this little. Okay, here we go. It might be a bit tough getting it out. There's a lot of. See, look at that. They're chasing stuff up in there. This might be a hard. Oh, I didn't get a good cast. Got him. See, I yanked about as hard as I could. Yeah, I bet you there's a bunch of bass right in here. See that little dude? I should be able to lift him, but I'm not really what they call high sticking it. But there we go. Little bitty popper, little bitty bass. Any questions? Let's see if we can catch another one. See, they're definitely chasing after stuff over in here. Oh, woo! Look out, boys and girls. That fish, I don't know if he missed it or I missed him. They're definitely over here. Come on. Watch this action. Come on. Got him. See how I just hesitated? I never really felt it. I just gave him a second and then was like, okay, I better set the hook. Yeah, he's trying to eat it. I keep wanting, that's one thing about these ultralights, I keep wanting to just grab them and boat flip these because they're little fish. You're like, okay. Oh, he almost swallowed that. Look at that. That's one bad thing about these little baits. Get my pliers. You gotta be careful now. It's in the back of the mouth. It's not really in, he didn't swallow it, but he wasn't far from it. You gotta be careful. They can swallow this bait real quick. That's why I said I hesitated, but I yanked before I even felt the fish. I knew he should have had it. I saw him take it. I didn't see the bait, like the bait was gone, so I just yanked. So yeah, we're getting into some good deals going here. Good deal. All right, well, we've seen we can catch him on that. So one more way up in there. Oh, you guys didn't see that. So You guys see where it's at? I hit the spot perfect. Right where they were chasing them fish. I got the bait found. All right, I hope you like that, and I'm gonna put an end to this topwater video, just kind of covering basically what I recommend and what size baits, topwater poppers for, you know, BFS. If you may have a trout rod or whatever, but these little bitty guys, you see that name Niobe or whatever, look them up on Aliexpress. I've got other videos out with them. I maybe even have an actual link on those videos, but it's been a year and a half or so since I bought them. I don't remember the exact price, but look for the other videos. I think I had it all linked in there. But on Aliexpress, the Niobes, I want to say that's like 2 gram or 1/16 ounce, something like that. Very little. I'll show it compared to here's the small Megabass. That's the baby Pop X is what they call that. See the size difference? Like huge size difference. This is about half, probably less than half the size of that little bitty Megabass bait. Awesome bait for your, what I call ultralight or even super ultralight, but those real little bitty rods. So, and I'm probably not totally done fishing, but close. Topwater fishing, that is. Sun's popping up. I'm gonna start using some cranks. I'm gonna put together a different video, so stay tuned for that video. On the same kind of concept here, I'm gonna show you what kind of crankbaits I recommend for these rods. And we're studying the Dragon. Today I wanted to figure out on the Dragon, some of you guys have been asking me about it. It is not a jig rod. It's not for any like straight single hooks as far as I'm concerned. You might be able to do it on some, but it's way more limber than the 661. I'll show you here in a minute. Kind of pay attention to how that's bending, how much give it's got. But it's awesome for these baits, these Tsurinoyas, any of your 1/8 ounce stuff, perfect. As you'll see, looking at other videos, but basically any of the little, like the Dr. Frankenstein, all the way up to, I should be able to throw like your size 1, you know, little swim or square bills, or you know what I throw, the Dig It and stuff like that, or even this popper right here. That rod will handle this popper no problem. I'd say somewhere 1/8 to 1/4 is probably its perfect wheelhouse, as they call it. But that's the Pop X 661. Now if you notice the 661, it loads up, it's a little bit, I'd call it almost half a power heavier than that Dragon. If you've got a 662 and you were wondering how that Dragon is, if you want a stouter rod, I tried to get one, the ProFlex 2 from Tsurinoya. But if you want something stouter than the 661 Teton, I can't even find them anymore. I have one, the 6.5 Cayenne Conqueror, your Criff Hangers, Shading X. There's several, you know, comparable like Major Craft and Shimano. Probably, I think the Zodius makes the BF ones. Almost any of your JDMs that say BF on them, the new Dolbins, they're going to be that power heavy, you know, probably just a touch heavier than this, kind of like that Cayenne Conqueror is. The Tetons are more of a flex throughout the rod, like it'll literally flex. See that give right there? So this whole rod will give some, which in my mind, I like those actions on a lot of baits, especially treble baits. But it's a stout enough rod for me, for 1/16 and 1/8 ounce shaky head, I can still get them popped in. So then, as I'm wrapping up this video, it's gonna be a long video for no more bass than we caught on Topwater, but I'm still gonna hit them. I might tag some more on the end, especially if I get a big one. Don't forget, just on regular gear, I can throw this on the 661, no issues. You could throw this on any of your like 6.5 to 6.8 BF. You know, I'm pretty sure the new Dobin's BFS rods will throw this. It's about a 1/2 ounce though. It's easily thrown on regular gear. I'd recommend just a medium rod. This is more of a medium but with an extra fat. It goes into backbone real quick. That's one thing about these NRX rods. It's an 802. And one last thing, be looking forward on the other videos. I'm going to talk more about it. I'm not going to go into it on this video, but you see that balance? See how that's balanced? Now all I did, and I may try to add it in permanently somehow or wrap it in through here and cover this, but I like a rod to be balanced, and you cannot find, almost no rods come like that. So I've done it to most all my rods. Some of them it's permanent. This is a $500 rod, so I just want to start cutting on it in case I do want to resell it, even though nobody wants to buy these. But be looking forward to that. I talked about it in a live stream I did. I simply took 1/2 ounce, you know, just the lead head weights, you know, not even the bullet, just the cheap ones you can get. I gave like $1.99 or $2.50, I think, for 10 of them, and I smashed them down with my 45-pound dumbbell. And this is 802. It has 3, so it has 1.5 ounces right here on the end. I just simple electrical tape to hold it on. Now it sounds like a lot, like wow, that's a whole lot of weight to add to a rod. But the feel of this rod and how it balances now, and it doesn't have that pull on it no matter what, just makes it so much easier. Even when you're, you know, when you're slow doing something and you're popping and you're jigging. Now if you're just throwing and cranking, you probably don't need to do that to any of your rods. If you're just whipping it out there casting, and as soon as it hits the water, you know, if you've got dedicated rods for chatterbaits, buzz baits, and cranks and stuff like that, it's probably not a big deal. But even with poppers, or even a jerkbait rod, that just constant weight pulling down on an unbalanced rod, it will fatigue you more than adding a couple ounces on the butt end of your rod and having it balanced. In a day's fishing, you won't, it'll actually help you. So it's hard to explain. Yeah, you technically want one where you don't have to add a ton. So I guess I will talk about it more. So I did the same thing to the Dragon, because I knew as soon as I got this rod, I knew when I ordered it 6'8" that I want more balance. Now I only added 1 ounce. I added 2 to this, so it's got 1 ounce. And you can see it's a little, it's probably not quite as balanced as the NRX rod, but it's close, and it still feels like crazy light. So what it lets you do is, that lure's jacked up, but I cast it out there and I just, you know, I'm working it, and it actually feels way lighter than it did. It feels a 1/2 pound lighter than when you got that weight, just the counterbalance. And so that's why I recommend. And yeah, it would be more balanced if I had a heavy rod. Problem is when you get, or a heavy reel, when you get too heavy of a reel, then it still may feel tip heavy because all the weight's like right here. So basically, once you balance the rod and you get it perfectly centered, you can balance it with any reel. Then just a heavier reel will just add weight to the overall combo, but it should still have a balanced feel. Now if you balance one, I guess, with a heavy rod and you don't quite get it enough, then you put a lighter reel or a heavier reel, and then when you go to lighter reel, it may start getting tip heavy again. But so that's why I do that. I mean, I don't think some people understand the true, when you have a balanced combo. And the way I palm like this because it's more comfortable. So I can actually get away, if you palm down here, like say if you're the guy that casts and just start reeling, well, you're going to have a heavy and need like way more weight because you're going to want the balance point here. So you'd have to probably almost double the weight maybe, or if you palm here, you know, that kind of thing. You just basically, it's real simple to do. You just take whatever weight you have, grab the rod and reel combo like you want to balance, hold it, and then just add weight. Take your weights, maybe wrap them in tape and just tape them to the back real quick just to see how many you're gonna need. So that's what I did last night. I showed it in the live stream sort of, but anyway, just add them on the back until you're like, oh man, that feels good. Maybe take away a little bit and be like, oh yeah, that's even better. Like I want it a little more, you know, biased towards the back, or it doesn't matter, just perfectly balanced. So then you know where you're at, smash them down, tape them on, Or if you want, you could cut the end off your rod, and if they're like the bullet sinkers, you can actually glue them inside the hollow part of your rod and put another butt cap on the end where you can't even tell. That's the way I did. You can't see it, but when I put a new, and I did it to that big Kind Conqueror, the 6'10", it's super balanced now. I did it to this rod, and you can see how balanced this thing is. When I put this handle on the 661, I added some lead bullet weights inside, glued them in the blank itself, and then put this handle on, and that's why this thing just has it's just that small. The palming feel, you guys would not believe how incredible this rod feels. I'm just telling you. Let's see if I can catch a fish as I get out of here. So like, it just feels like there's just, my hand is almost closed, and I can just work, you know, the rod, even if I'm cranking or just whatever I'm doing. This balance is amazing on this setup. You just take my word for it. Anybody that I've let use this rod are like, yeah, you don't want to get this in your hands, because you'll be like me. Once you hold this one, you hold all the others, you're like, these other rods suck. So anyway, I'm out of here. I'm serious. I'm going to try to catch you another bass or two, but I'm out of here. So what I'm doing is, and that's why I haven't permanently done it, because they're so expensive, but two, they're, you know, I don't know for sure what weight I want. I don't even know for sure if I want to stick with the Aldebaran on this. But this is like, it's got that feel. It is overall, it's a stouter, a little heavier rod than the 661, and it's 6'8", and it's a little more powerful. So it does feel, it's got a little more heaviness feel to it, but it has that crazy feel of balance. See if I can catch one on it. So like, I've got it out there, and I'm just perfect. You see that? And how your hand, you don't realize it, if you're spending hours out on the water, you're already standing up, maybe in a boat, you know, you want to be comfortable, you want to have some room, you want to feel cramped, you don't want to feel like you're holding on to, even when you're not getting bites. That's one thing about like when you're fishing a jerkbait. And I may try this rod now for a jerkbait rod. I think the handle may be a little long. I don't know, jerkbait rods have to be specific, because jerkbaiting is tough. If you guys have ever gone out and been on a jerkbait bite and fished a jerkbait for a couple hours, you know what I'm talking about. Like, let alone try to do longer than that, but you want you just want a rod that's there. And I think this is a touch soft in the tip, and the handle's a little too long. So I still don't have a good jerkbait rod. I had one, what happened? Something happened. I had another one I sold to Johnny, but it is a touch on the heavy side. It's the one I made anyway. I'm out of here. Hopefully you guys liked the video showing you the, you know, poppers and just what to do, overall size. But stay tuned. I'm definitely putting together a crankbait video from ultralight, light to kind of finesse, and maybe even to heavy, because, oh yeah, let me show you this. I've actually even done it on the 803. This is the Aldebaran 50, so it's light. I can't remember, I think this rod only weighs like 3.5 ounces, but it's very tip heavy. The 803, it's 6'8", but it's a 3-power, like a medium, I call it medium heavy. I throw like crankbait, or the bigger cranks, your chatterbaits. I mean, it's almost my all-around big, you know, bait rod. So with it, I added 2 ounces, and it sounds like, wow, you added a lot of weight to that rod. And it does, it definitely feels heavier than a BFS rod, but it feels good too, because it's only, I think, 3.5 ounces. That's 4.5 ounces, not quite 5, maybe 5 ounces, the Aldebaran 50. But let's just say that's 5. So you got 5, 6, 7 ounce. So 7 ounces, 3, it's just over 10 ounces. It's a very stout, like I can set the hook on 4/0, you know, Texas rigs, any size, you know, the chatterbaits, 1/2 ounce jigs. It's capable of that kind of hook setting power, and it's like perfectly balanced, and it still throws lightweight stuff. So that's just a weightless Zinkers. Cast it no problem. I'll talk more about that in the video and what I use this for. But anyway, so as far as being an awesome rod, just an 803, perfectly balanced. capable of throwing 3/4 ounce baits. This is perfect for that, you know, the big rattle traps all around. So like if you're wanting a, in all honesty, an all around rod that's capable of throwing, if you're, say the, I guess 1/4 ounce, 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce is somewhere the smallest, lightest stuff you're going to throw with it, up to like a 3/4 ounce. That's where the 803s come in handy, and that adding that weight. You could add it around here too in some way, get some of that lead like what you put on tires and just kind of fill that in just with tape, just to make it kind of almost smooth and have a perfect balanced feel. I'm just telling you, if you've, some of you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you think I'm dumb and nuts and all that, but fishing with balanced rod and reel combos, or that's why some of you guys will be like, yeah, that's why I use spinning, you know, because spinning gear is one of the easiest, just like a fly rod and reel. It's kind of the easiest to balance because you got where you hold on to, and the weight's down here on the spinning gear, so it makes it feel more comfortable a lot of times. And a fly reel is on the back. Oh, I had a fish. All right, guys, I'm out here. I ramble on way too long. Hopefully this video isn't too long. I hope you guys liked it. So get out of here, go bass and bonsai. Stay tuned for the next adventure. It starts here in a second. See you later, guys. Bye.